I'd like to call the January 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Ogden Town Board to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask you to remain standing for a moment of silent reflection, prayer for military servicemen and women serving around the world, as well as for our first responders. Thank you. Thank you all for attending today. We're going to start the meeting out with a report from Gates Volunteer Ambulance Service and Chief Melissa Geffert. Chief?
Total calls in our district is 8,500. It breaks down to be 987 in Ogden, 96 in Parma, 357 in the village, and then Gates 762. And the difference with down below 1,300 mutual aid requests that we had. Of those 1,300 mutual aid requests, or 1,400 actually, close to that, we returned 668, saying we just couldn't cover them. We didn't have a truck to leave a truck in district, so we didn't take those calls. So we ended up covering the 725, but overall that gets us to 9,895. Total amount billed in 2024 was almost $6 million that we billed out. As of this morning, or at the end of the year, we received 2.4 million, and that's above national average. It's sad.
That's crazy.
It's sad, but it is still above the national average of what the receivables are through, and primarily because of Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements. They just don't pay. But credits given to Ogden Parma and Spencer Port of 72,000, and again, those are the write-offs, the $150 credit that we give them towards when we transport them to a hospital. And then year-to-date for Gates was 161,668. That doesn't include any bad debt. It doesn't include any outstanding bills that are still out there that we just haven't received yet. So any of that is still in there. And usually money filters in year to year. I mean, we still get money from 6 years ago.
That was going to be my question,
Yes.
is how much of this eventually comes?
So probably another 20% will filter in over the course of whatever. So yeah, and it just kind of filters in. What's really interesting is that Medicare and Medicaid don't, like if they were to pay us today, say for a bill, say they give us $500, they could actually reach out to us, and this happens all the time. Hey, we paid you $500 in 2013, and now we went over the bill, and now you actually have to pay us back $300 and something from that. So it's a constant battle with them. We're constantly sending them money back, and everything. So it's back and forth, but that's kind of where it is. Just real quick, some numbers. CPR classes taught. People taught to 149 people in the town of Ogden. We taught with 21 classes for CPR, and then Gates we taught 550 people with 45 classes. And those are all classes free to the public. And then we responded to 60 cardiac arrests. We had 12 with ROS, which is return of circulations. Of those 12 with return of circulation, 10 actually walked out of the hospital. So that's actually a decent number as well. So for the financials, total income that we received in was $4,784,000. We budgeted just $4 million, so we actually were over budgeted that. And again, that's going to be truly, we got third-party billing, and if you look at those two numbers for third-party billing, that's money that we're receiving in still over the course of the year from past years. So that just raises those numbers. But if you go down through the numbers, there was a couple I wanted to touch on. The one that says vehicle and equipment for expenses, you'll notice that it's way out of line. That is for the county grant.
Yep.
So we actually just got that ambulance in, and we just submitted for reimbursement to the county for that. So hopefully we should see those, like they say, like 30 days.
Can I ask you a really silly question?
Oh, yeah.
do you have a board that votes on certain expenditures, or do they just pass the budget and then that's it?
They vote on the expenditures.
So if you ever go over budget in a certain line item, do they have to vote on that and move money?
So when that happens, like in that situation, they had already understood that we were going to go over in that based on the grant, because the way the grants work. So when we go and we say, hey, we're putting in for this truck, this is going to be a grant for $250,000, right? They understand that the way it works is that we are going to be over budget, and they approve it knowing that we will be over budget because we have to pay for it up front before we can get reimbursed.
I guess I'm looking at other things like dental and health insurance, because that was a little bit over as well.
Yeah, so if you look down, so if you look at dental and health insurance, and that's over, if you look below that where it says health insurance deductible,
Mhm.
and then it says 71,000, it's almost equal. So we were $43,000 over, we still have in the budget for the health insurance deductible. So basically, the difference is, we have two insurance plans. We have a copay plan, a higher plan, and then we have the high deductible plan. So suddenly now, people are like, I think I want that copay plan, not that high deductible plan. So the money that we budget for the high deductible actually isn't getting used, and instead it went up a little bit higher in the health insurance part of it. So it's almost washing. I think it ends up being just like almost 10,000 over, roughly 10,000 actually over in budget if you add those two lines together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought there was one other one thing on here. Computers, not computers. Oh, billing and charting systems. So I'm trying to think of where it is too.
Yeah, your building and maintenance one's a little out of whack too. Amount of 21,000.
Oh, yeah, that would be because we had to suddenly repair and replace the ventilation system in the heating units in the ceiling, because we burst another line in one area of our building, and so unfortunately, we were stuck. So we did have to go and replace that to a lot of money. But that is why that is over. So we had to put, and I forget the terminology for it, but it's whatever circulates the air in the top of the building, we had to replace that. But we also, I'm trying to, the EPCR system is over as well. So if you look up a little higher there, 1015 for the EPCR system. So we switched systems. And unfortunately, when we switched, not unfortunately, so we paid now for next year. So actually, what we budgeted for this coming up 2025 is already paid for, because we had to pay for it in November when we started implementing the program. So we're over budget for 2024, but in 2025, it'll be null and void because we already paid that money. So we're ahead, it evens out, actually, is what I'm saying.
So if I'm reading this correctly, the amount of the 2024 budget was just over 4 million, but the actual was about 4.8 million. That was the revenue. And so the budgeted amount, you would have been about 660,000 over, but instead you're $83,000 over budget.
Right.
Okay, so what do you do when the budget is, when you're over
So
the budget by
we go to our
83?
reserve account.
Okay, and hopefully, I'm assuming this, but the 2025 budget had an increase across the board
Yes,
from all the municipalities, so that should help us
correct.
better cover that, so we're not going over. Is that my
Correct.
assumption?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Was there any other questions on the budget that I put out?
No?
Good for the moment?
Thank you for all that you guys do. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and I will see you in probably April.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Mr.
Thanks, Chief. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, look for a motion for approval of the January 8th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, we have privilege of the floor. If there's anyone here that would like to address the board at this time, please come forward, state your name and address, and tell us what your topic is. Seeing none, I will close privilege of the floor. There are no correspondence, so we'll move from that to reports from town officers. We, am very pleased to announce that we have every single one of our AEDs now hooked up to 911. We did not have, there was a shortage in a line that went to the highways AED, and we did not have the AED in rec hooked up to 911. Those are all hooked up now. There's a couple dollars that we spent to make that happen, but we just thought that that was really important. I don't think anybody knew that there was a shortage in the line, and I think that there was some tricky navigation trying to get the rec one done years ago. But as we've sort of talked about this, it just made sense to have that happen. All the panic buttons in all the places are all installed. The old system is mostly removed, but that means that essentially every office has access to a panic button in case of an emergency. We're really rolling out an actual protocol for how to use that versus dialing 911 versus a whole bunch of other things. For the first time in a long time, we're gonna have fire drills. It's gonna remind me of high school, but we're really putting a huge emphasis on making sure that our procedures for emergencies are in place and well-known. We are looking to move ahead with our water infrastructure study. Learned a couple things this week. First, that we can actually spend out of the B fund, which is basically the easiest fund to get money from and not compromise general funds. All of that money, I'm assuming, is going to be paid back to the town if we go forward with any districts, water districts. I'm just going to be completely honest. If we get one or two water districts out of this, I'll be very pleased. I just have a feeling that the large majority of districts that could or would be formed will either be turned down by the state because it's going to be too expensive, or by residents. But we are giving every resident that choice and that chance, and that's why this study is important. So we're going to start going ahead with that. We are, as I mentioned in the pre-meeting, we're going to take a look at park engineering moving ahead for the Buffalo Road Park. You'll have a resolution in front of you probably next meeting that approves of that. But essentially what we want to do is I don't think that I've said this out loud to the public, but we never get grants here in the town of Ogden that are substantive. We do get little ones here and there, and we get ones that cover certain things, but we applied for a huge one, $630,000+ grant, and we were awarded it by the state. And so that's we had to put together a plan, preliminary plan for the park, and do wetland delineation because there is quite a bit of wetlands over there. But the idea for this park is for it to be much more nature-centered, not necessarily all these playgrounds and lodges, and might have some of that in some capacity, but it's more hiking trails and nature stops, and it's honestly going to be beautiful. So we're really working with a company that are experts in this and putting that where it belongs. So you'll have that probably by the next meeting to take a look at least their proposal. And that really just gets us started. And we're in the process of getting all the information from this grant since we literally were just awarded it, but huge win. And I just have to thank the board for giving the opportunity for our staff to receive the training to do that. We've had opportunities where we've looked at certain grant writers. We weren't super impressed. And so now we've got multiple people who have been given some training. I got to give a lot of credit to Andrea, to Christian, and to Sue, who really have been spearheading this, because that's enormous. There's no way we get to do this park without these grants, and we're going to keep applying now that we know what we're doing here. We also got a letter from the school for an RFP, the proposal part being the P. The school is looking to change their schedule, and I don't know that that's completely solid, but talking with the school superintendent, their idea is to basically switch the start times for high school and elementary, so kind of like shift those. So basically, elementary would be getting it on the bus at like 6:30 in the morning, and then getting out early, and high school would be shifted. Either way, what they need to do, and this is wise, is they need to find a way to provide wrap care for students. So parents might be fine getting their young ones on the bus early, but if they're getting out at 2:30 and they're still working, that's gonna be a challenge. So how do they address that with, not just their own staff, but with, area residents and students? So they're trying to put together a RAP Care program. We have that here in Town Hall. Andrea does a great job of it, but it's at a much smaller scale. So I talked with the school superintendent, I know Andrea is gonna do that as well, and just see, is this something that we could help out with? Is it something we want to help out with? They're starting with just a summer program for the next 2 years, so it is a pilot. They wanna have it on their grounds, they wanna have it, in their facilities, and to start, it's just gonna be at Burnaby, and just starting in the summers. And then they'll figure out the rest, cause I don't think that they're officially moving the time, this next year, but I don't know that for a fact. But that's, the plan truly is to pilot this. And it gives us time to figure out, is this worth, it would all be still through Ogden Rec, our system, our payment system. We would just be using their facility and really being the facilitators of the program. We obviously have all the insurances and the background checks, but weighing the revenue with the expense of probably needing more people is always the hardest, so, that's just one more thing that we're taking a look at, so. That's the update. Councilman Baker.
Nothing much. I just returned from Washington DC and had a great time, and I had a really nice text thread conversation with Congressman Morelli. His staff was absolutely incredible to work with, and accommodating us when plans changed right at the last minute and brought everything indoors, and I couldn't say enough about his staff. So he sent me a really nice text message tonight, just appreciating, the kind words, and the last thing he said was, I'll see you in Ogden. So I don't know what that means, if there's a
presentation coming
Yep,
that
so-
you are invited to.
so,
It'll be good.
yeah, so, but that was it.
And it's not about the Gillette Road Bridge yet. Unfortunately, before you get excited. Thank you. Councilman Gerbino is out today. Councilman Hinman.
No report at this time.
Councilman Toms.
Yeah, just a reminder of trivia night for the Rotary. It's coming up in February, I think it's the 19th. Anybody can put a team together, I know they're still looking.
Very good. Highway Superintendent Wolf.
We had budgeted for a grapple truck this year, and I called, Syncon to find out where our grapple truck was and what it was gonna be, and he informed me that it has to be electric.
What?
Exactly,
A grapple truck?
yes, unless, there's a way around it, because it doesn't have a plow in the front of it.
And what's the new cost of this electric grapple truck?
Well, I called Grease and talked to their guy down there, Russ, and they're right now ordering a truck a year and a half ago, and they're up to 300,000. Where we budgeted 230 for this. So it was kind of a setback by, Syncom by saying that to us, cause they gave us a quote on a truck and, never said nothing about that, so we'd have to buy the truck through Regency or Regional, and Regional's basically telling it's gotta go on for electric, from what he was telling me today. But he has two options. He has trucks in Florida that are already at the dealer, that are our apprentice loaders that we have. And one's a Mack and one's a Peterbilt, and he's gonna get me prices on those two trucks down there. And we can buy them because they're 2024s, and we can bring them to New York State.
I'll be honest, I'd love to see how the electric ones actually handle, because I know we've talked about
I'd
them.
be honest, I wouldn't wanna see them with the salt that we put around in
That's-
the town.
Those would be my questions. I'd love to see what other towns end up with.
I see
In
all
the
the time on the, firewire, we got bus fires, the, buses are catching on fire, trucks are catching on fire, and, I don't think it's, at this time, it's something, an option that the town of Ogden would like to take on for excessive expense on a battery operated vehicle. It'd be a hell of a chance to let somebody else like the city of Rochester do that. I mean, New York City has them down there, and they can only use them for like 3 hours a day. So
Jeez.
I don't think you've come all the way with it yet, and I'm leaning more towards the option of, what he has in Florida and already at the, Lightning, at the Apprentices, to see if we can get one of those. And Russ has even said to me, he says, if you get rid of your truck, we'll buy it.
Probably for more.
We'll buy it, rebuild the truck, and, you know, that was an option I had said, 6 months ago when I came back from one of the state, conventions, that, people are looking at rebudgeting their money the state did for 60 million to say, you know, send a truck down and get it refurbished and save the money on refurbishing the truck, so.
Jeez.
It might be an option we have to be looking at next year or so with the trucks that we're replacing. We're gonna receive our two, six-wheelers tomorrow, hopefully. The string boxes are in, they work in those trucks, so they're gonna deliver them to us tomorrow. The 10-wheelers, they're still fighting with Volvo and RW for the steering boxes, and they're each pointing their finger at each other and saying that, it's not our problem, it's your problem, it's not our problem, it's your problem. So they hold on to $750,000 in trucks just sitting there that, we're not paying for it, they're just totally figured out, because once we accept them, we're stuck with a headache. So, and then we're not the only town, there's, I think there were 4 other towns that had problems with the Volvo trucks. You can't steer them. That's it.
Kind of an essential feature, I
Yeah.
would think. Thank you. Town Clerk Noel Burley.
We are just busy collecting taxes, so that's been taking up a good chunk of our day. Passports are picking up a lot of the, today was actually busy, a lot of the kids that were home, parents were off, so they came in and did passports, so that's about it.
Very good. Anything, Brian?
No report from me.
Very good. All right, there being no other unfinished business, we'll go to new business. Madam Clerk, if you don't mind.
Resolution 84, authorizing the Ogden Highway Department to expend funds levied and collected for the purchase of materials and for the repairs, upkeep, and improvements of highways and drainage areas and received from the state for the repair and improvement of highways and drainage areas.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 85, authorizing the appointment of delegate and alternate delegate for the Association of Towns Annual Business Meeting.
So moved.
No, second?
Moved by Councilman Hinman, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 86, authorizing Ogden Town Supervisor Mike Sal to execute an extension to the intermunicipal agreement between the Town of Ogden and the Village of Spencerport concerning shared services of the Ogden Historian and the Village Historian to be conducted in the Little Red facility owned by the Town of Ogden in Adams Basin, New York.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Toms, seconded by Councilman Baker. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 87, authorizing Ogden Town Supervisor Mike Sal and Ogden Finance Director Sherry Foley as designated officials for the completion of the CREST grant certification process.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Hinman, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 88, authorizing Ogden Town Supervisor Mike Sal and Ogden Finance Director Sherry Foley as designated officials for completion of the SAM grant certification process.
I'll move that.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hinman, seconded by Councilman Baker. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Make a motion that we move to work session.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned to work